Do you sometimes load all your training load data and find that there's data points missing? You start looking around and try to figure out what it is, and all it is that there's a name spelled slightly incorrectly. Well, in this week's Power BI for Sport tutorial, we're going to talk about data management basics, and we're going to expand on our athlete table by adding in some athlete IDs. So let's get going. Alright guys, if you're finding my videos for the first time, make sure you hit like and subscribe below, and you'll be notified of future content. Right, if you saw last week's video on data management basics and creating your athlete table, we're going to expand on that this week, and we're going to add in some athlete IDs. If you missed that video, make sure you hit the card in the top right hand corner and you'll be taken away to that video. So what we're going to do is really basic. We're going to add in an athlete ID to our table. So let's go over to our athlete table here, and this is all we're going to do. All this needs to be is a unique value that will identify your athletes differently. You can do whatever you like for this. It could be one, or it could be first name, last name, and a value, anything like that. It could include their birth date, things like that. The only reason you're doing this is to help identify between unique players. So if you have somebody with the same name, you can always define between them in terms of, say, a John Smith, Jay Smith, whatever it might be. If you have multiple of those in your team for whatever reason, you have unique IDs, and you'll make sure that that's given to that player. So here's a simple example. For my data table here, you can see that athlete 1 is missing a bunch of data at the start. We look into the data in the background, and we see that our athlete name is slightly different. I've had to create a different one. If you misspell or you don't capitalize words, Power BI currently looks like it's still able to find a match for those. But if you've got like a underscore at the end, or say you misspell with a different letter or anything like that, this is what happens, and you'll see that the data disappears, and suddenly you're like, oh, I'm missing the first 2 months of the training loads of the season or pre-season, whatever might happen. So what you need to do for this is you've got your athlete ID in your athlete table. Oops, my apologies. Your athlete ID and your athlete table. So let's put that to one side here. And then we've got our GPS table here. Let's put this to the other side. So we've got our athlete names here. I've already gone away and done this, but all you need to do is just add another column with their athlete ID in it. So you can do this a lot of times if you work with Catapult, for example. You can add athlete ID onto their system. You might be able to do this with other systems as well, but it'll help you export it out when you create a CSV of the training session, for example. Other systems will have their own athlete IDs, so Nordboard, ForceDex, Opta, they'll give your athletes a specific ID, and you can just add that into your table on the end or wherever you like. So if you've only got one row for every training session, adding an athlete ID for each player is quite easy. If you have multiple, it might take a little while, and there are options you have to help speed up that process, but that'll mean that this name has to always be the same. So we'll save these, and we'll make sure we close them. And I've already refreshed the data in my table here. I'll just make sure this is saved. I've already refreshed the data in the background here, so you'll see here I have an athlete ID in my training load table, and I also have an athlete ID in my athlete table. So if we go to our relationships now, we can adjust what relationship we want, or what this relationship is between our athlete table and our training load. So if we just click athlete ID in training load, athlete ID in athlete table, hit OK, return to our front page, and you can see all our data is popped through. So this is incredibly helpful if partway through a season or over time you realize you were misspelling a player's name. You can adjust it in one table and it'll still work across everything. This is incredibly helpful for those little mistakes like that, or if you're misspelling, if you're having to type out each time you do it. So I hope you guys found this video useful. make sure you start to implement athlete IDs in your player monitoring systems, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. As always, if you liked this video, please make sure you hit like and subscribe below, and I look forward to seeing you next time, where we will continue to power performance through data. Thank you.